So I must say, like always, after a speech like that, there are some nervousness that creeps in. So please excuse me if I make a few mistakes. Thank you for that kind words. I think when somebody steps up and they say to you, there's good news and there's bad news. What would you like to, or if they say that to you, the first thing that comes to mind for me is let's talk about the bad news and get it over with so that we can enjoy the good news. So I guess that's a little bit in terms of how I feel, I'm sharing with you because as Savantika said, my partner unfortunately decided at a point, in June that, he actually wants to leave the program. As Savantika said, that had tremendous, it was quite a personal journey for me to go through, but I think also, as Savantika also rightly, pointed, I think it had a lot of courage and a lot of, obviously, perspectives on the other side, from a Matitsi's perspective, to actually position it that way. And I guess through the reflection, it really opened up a few questions, for me to actually, to reflect on and to think about it. And I decided what I would like to do, and thank you for my family actually saying that they wanted me to stay on the program, because that also made it easier for me to to deal with this this issue, and it's something I'll share with you a little bit later. But I think it was a conscious decision to actually stick with the program and to take it through and to reflect, and at the end also share both sides of the stories, because sometimes we like to share the good stories, but life is not just about what we perceive as being good. There's other perspectives, there's other things that we need to share, and hopefully there's a learning in that. So in terms of this, just maybe in terms of speaking about, Matitsi and my partner, in terms of just the absolute pressure that is on the principals in actually achieving what they do. I think it's something I've realized through this program in terms of just how much effort and how much pressure is on the principals that effectively needs to make the change or are responsible and accountable for so much happening basically with a very important part of our community. So taking that pressure and the accountability not just to the school but also to their communities is a massive, it's a massive responsibility. And I guess I've got a new appreciation in terms of just from that perspective, how conscious you need to be and engaged you need to be in making sure that this partnership actually lasts. Because we can sometimes, maybe my personal reflection on it is we're principle based. So we, as much as the program actually focuses on leadership and empowering leadership to affect long-term sustainable change, there's also a reality that is there. And I mean, it sometimes doesn't take a lot to actually, also maybe focus on one or two little things. And in my personal case, I think after the reflection, I actually felt that there was maybe, one little thing that one could have done that maybe changed it a little bit. But to Savantika's point, and the great story that she shared with us, or perspective that she shared with us, it is what it is, and it was, that was basically the story we were supposed to roll out. And that's the way basically that I look at it. So with that being said, the fact that it actually didn't work and that there was really a hard sort of internal process for me to reflect around this. I'd like to move on to, maybe my personal reflection on, how I experienced the program. And I think what was amazing is sometimes, and I speak for myself, it's my perspective, when you actually engage like a program like this, there's all these things going on in your head, and you've got this story of one, where business people basically, I've got experience. I've been with my institution for a really long time, and I've got experience. I've actually done a few things, So you go in, you engage basically with the school, and as you basically start to, or before you engage, I mean, this perception in your mind is that, I've got a lot to basically add, and I'm going to help you. It's actually quite nice. I can't wait to do this. And as you step in and as you actually meet this principal, I mean, you start to, that whole size of you start to get smaller, because you you realize that, this principal actually does not need, you to come and give him a vision and all of these things. Actually, it's the opposite. I mean, I'm in a creative role, and it was for me amazing to actually see the creativity that we've got, and again, the quality of principals that we've got. And, and in terms of what they're accountable for, and with limited resources, what they actually achieve. And I mean, it just humbles you. So I think that was my first sort of real experience that I had around Partners for Possibility, and it was amazing. I think the other thing is and that rolls into this whole thing around different perspectives. The thing is we've got our own stories in our minds. We make them up. We obviously believe them. But until you get exposed and get this type of experiential learning and true people that's got their perspectives and so on, and the time is created and space is created for people to basically voice that and to think through it, you really start to actually, your own assumptions and so on, you start to test it, and that perspectives is so valuable. So that was part of that introspection that I went through in terms of really just asking myself, basically, where did that perspectives come from and why? And I think the beauty of it is like when you start to ask questions, you really start to actually energize yourself. And I mean, the hope comes in, and you think differently about our country. And I think we spoke a lot about that. And I mean, those are the amazing things, is that you get a chance to actually engage at that level. And then maybe just to from a Partners for Possibility perspective, the actual tools and the quality of basically what you get exposed to, the methodologies, the principles, and that gets shared and gets facilitated. I mean, these are true. Like I say, I've been in the corporate environment for a long time, and I think some of these things has been better than most of the the other courses and learnings that I've been on, because this is experiential learning, and it's really backed by scientific, world-class sort of education and thought leadership, which I valued a lot, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of many of us. And then maybe just to take it a step, that was sort of my experience. But I think, in essence, the wonderful piece of this for me is really around, the hope, and in a way that it's brought for me in terms of my engagements with different people. And I think that is the where the family thing comes in. It's so amazing to meet so many people that's willing to share so much, that's actually engaged out of their day job. And it's not from a business perspective. I'm talking about the principles, being willing to basically share and open and create their time, open up their schools. I mean, even when I was started at Matsiti School, I mean, it was really amazing to be invited in the way that I was. And it truly is a family. I think this is for me a good principle and a good a showcase, almost like a proof of concept in terms of how South Africa can be integrated going forward. And I truly believe that. I think if we, what Partners for Possibility is actually achieving through this process, sometimes we will only see it basically as this actual change, happens. But the most amazing thing for me is that this is actually how we can integrate South Africa, by having not our own stories, not there in our own little environments, with our own perspective, talking about the same thing every day. But it's actually about opening up and having courageous conversations. I mean, we had some really, courageous ones where, with the permission, Savantika was, it was always a respectful environment. But what was amazing around it is that it was in those moments that we realized that there was different perspectives, and there was valid reasons for those perspectives. But allowing those perspectives to be there and actually being engaging and talking about it was the fabric of basically the future of South Africa for me. And I think that's why I believe that this is really a groundbreaking, amazing sort of program. And from my perspective, I think the quality of the Partners for Possibility program, and again, its focus, it's got the focus of actually, helping and empowering basically principals who's got such a big influence in terms of South Africa, and actually affecting that change, with people like, the people that's sitting here, is amazing. And, I think that was sort of most of my story that I wanted to share, and I just wanted to share that perspective, because I think, even though maybe, it hasn't been like it feels to me like, you've done a bit of the Cape Epic and you end up at the end and your partner is basically not there. It's a bit of sadness for me, but I think, what I take out of the program, I don't think, even if it was both of us standing here, it would just be the cherry on the cake. I was still enabled to basically contribute and to learn, to share, and to be part of, I believe, a better, South Africa and a future that actually is believable and that gives hope, and that, is different from the way that we've been doing things in the past. So, that's my story. I'd like to maybe just, introduce the next. We go from the bad story. It's not just the bad story. We'll go. There's 6 great stories that's coming up, and I think what I'd like to do is just, I was thinking about introducing Sabu and Steve, and I mean, where do you start? It's like these are the 2 overachievers. But from Sabu's point of view, and I mean, you laugh. It really is true. I mean, when we started to talk about this presentation, and I'm saying started to talk about it, we were sort of getting our thoughts behind. They had their presentation. They were like, here we are, and all of us were like, really, okay, can you just keep it a bit sort of, don't tell everybody. But that's basically who they are. And I think the amazing thing for me is this, Sabu from the beginning. I mean, as this this cohort was established, Sabu basically started with a WhatsApp group. I mean, daily he was keeping everybody sort of motivated. He was inspirational, and he was consistent. That was who he is, and he kept on going. And I think that for me is basically just his character, the way that he basically contributed. It was like, all out. He's basically there, and he's contributed, and he's valued. And he'll obviously share his story now. So I think that's amazing. And from Steve's perspective, again, as much as this partnership, I think this partnership has really been as a result of the combination of the 2 of them. And Steve has emerged himself from the beginning. I mean, he got there, boots and all, family and all. He was basically there and emerging, really experiencing what this whole thing is about. And on the side, doing a few Ironmans and all of these type of things as well. So I think it's like, I don't know. I don't know how these guys do it, but they've done it. And I think, I'm looking forward to their story. They're 2 amazing guys. So, thank you. You guys are up next.